I'm Jane Applegath. This is the Epic Vision Zone. What if playing it safe with your brand is the fastest way to stay invisible? And what if the real power move isn't fitting in, but owning your story so loud it can't be ignored? Alexis Quintal is a powerhouse branding strategist, a media agent, and founder of Rosarium PR and Marketing Collective, a bold PR and marketing firm shaking up the industry with a fresh, inclusive approach. A former college professor turned sought after speaker and mentor, Alexis blends her passion for education with over a decade of experience in top tier advertising agencies, nonprofits, and public institutions. In 2020, she launched Rosarium, a creative collective uniting branding, marketing, and PR experts, giving clients access to a hand picked team of business owner contractors who are all masters in their craft. This makes marketing solutions accessible and affordable for businesses of all sizes and empowers the next generation of entrepreneurs and executives with innovative personal branding strategies and PR that connects. A public speaker and mentor known for transforming presentations into interactive, unforgettable experiences, Alexis addresses audiences of all sizes, making branding feel personal, powerful, and magnetic for every professional in any industry. Whether she's on stage or behind the mic, Alexis brings energy, insight, and next level strategy to every conversation. Welcome, Alexis. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks so much. I know I was sitting here like, wow, this is my bio.
I know. I get that every single time. Alexis, I think it's something we could do for every client because we don't understand how wonderful and how successful we already are.
Right,
And it's
exactly.
it's it's just a way to point out the obvious, but congratulations for where you've come so far. And I know you've got lots of road in front of you. So let's get started. I'm
Thank
really
you.
excited about what Alexis is up to here, and I'm so glad that we've connected. You've worked with nonprofits, global agencies, and now you run your own firm. What made you say it's time to build something of my own?
Oh my gosh. I think I knew for a long time that I was going to build something of my own. But of course, I wanted to get that hands on experience first and try a few different industries. So after studying for my master's in higher education, I really was excited to join the University of South Florida and help some students really guide them through their college experience and figure out what's next, right? Because you go to college with a whole plan in place, or maybe none whatsoever, but you do need some sort of guidance. So being an advisor was a really amazing experience for me at USF, but it still felt like something was maybe missing, right? It definitely wasn't the place for me yet. So from there, I jumped to the world of marketing and worked at a couple ad agencies, from digital marketing and advertising to PR. And that was where I really fell in love with the impact I can make through
Mm.
marketing campaigns and just visibility, right? Just enhancing visibility of businesses and brands. And so that was when the aha moment came that this was something I could do and, launch my own business specializing in personal branding. So taking all my background in teaching and, marketing and driving new business opportunities into a place where I could help startups, small business owners, even very experienced business owners who just never really put themselves in front of the camera. So, I'm just really excited of how it's all evolved.
Yes, I agree 100%. I love that you said make an impact because, whether we know it or not, we're all here to do that, to share our gifts. And it was interesting that you said when you were in the university there was something missing, and that was the connection. It didn't resonate with you at that time. But you knew that
Yeah.
intuitively. So much like yourself, I've had a very long roller coaster journey as well. But sometimes it takes us a long time to find the path that we're to be on. And I'm grateful that you found yours, and we're going to delve into some of that. But thank you for sharing that story with us. So getting into the story branding, you say that everyone has a personal brand, and it isn't just a logo or a tagline, but the most powerful story you've yet to tell. So, how do you uncover a client's story and amplify it and make it unforgettable?
Hmm. Well, first of all, I do love to tell people, regardless of what role or industry or even place, phase in life they are in, everyone has a personal brand. So even someone that is still working in corporate or even is unemployed, right? You still have a
Yeah.
personal brand and a story to tell that will go on and live on with you forever, right? It's your way of leaving a legacy, but also controlling that narrative. So it starts off by first accepting that you have a personal brand, right? So the clients we work with, we make sure they're comfortable and open minded to that. And then we really just dig deep. We ask them some pretty personal questions. We ask them about their journey. What are some of the hardest moments you've had to overcome? What aspects of your past are you willing to talk about in a way that maybe you can make an impact on the next generation, or touch someone who's also experiencing the same thing? We often uncover that a lot of these entrepreneurs started their business because of that, because they experienced
Mm.
some sort of hurdle or trauma and they wanted to make an impact. So, it's really great to uncover those stories and help them realize, right, this is my why. It's that compass of what got them into business in the first place. And all we're doing is amplifying that story. It's nothing out of the ordinary of the life they've already lived. They just probably aren't used to sharing those aspects yet. So we help kind of
Mm.
get them comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes, I can see that. It's really interesting. A lot of individuals, and often even when we get older, we're asked, what do we want? And we haven't given ourselves the space and the time or the breath to even consider that question. And it needs excavating. It's finding that grain of salt, that special something, because you're right. The why is always where we want to be, but it's not always the
Mhm.
easiest place to find. And so I love that you do that discovery, because that to me is one of the biggest hurdles, is really finding out what resonates. And that
Mm.
leads right into our next question here, which is, what if someone feels like they have nothing special to brand? Where do you begin with them? Is it this questionnaire, this special sort of walk through the discovery of where they came from and who they are today?
Oh, absolutely. And I have heard this many times before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're even in that discovery process with someone who's, again, they feel like they're meant for more, right? There's a reason they've come to us. They see the work we're doing and they know that they're not hiring us to be hiding in a closet, right? So at first, though, there are some that say, listen, I haven't experienced anything like overly traumatic, right? We see all these things going on
Mm-hmm.
in the world, and that sometimes makes us diminish our own experiences, that they're not bad enough or, just extreme enough. And so we kind of remind them that their journey is still their journey, right? It doesn't matter how how extreme it is. And so I think a lot of times just talking through it with us is almost like their own aha moment of, oh wow, I have been through quite a bit. I have overcame, I have shown, that I have resilience. Maybe it's in your own unique way. I mean, it definitely is. But we help them feel confident in that and remind them that they do have a story.
Right. Yes, I think we all need to be reminded every now and then. But absolutely, you are right. It's walking them through that. So I love that you have flipped and thank you for that information. I love that you have flipped the traditional PR and media on its head. What you're doing right now is you really have, what's working now that no one's talking about, and what are some of the barriers helping clients break, them, to help them succeed changing the world. So, what is working now, and what do you find that people are stuck in, that they've been trying to use over and over and over again, and it's really not what people are looking for in today's world?
Hmm. I think it's honestly it's happening naturally and organically, right? And which I love that. So if you ask someone, what are the last 5 new clients that you've brought on. And I do ask this a lot, right? How is it working for you right now? And a lot of them will say networking, or build a relationship I built with someone over time, or just online, where on LinkedIn we were talking business. That's where of your new clients are probably coming from, but people expect the answer to be an ad campaign or a cold
Mm.
email, something where you've had to pay a certain amount of dollars to be able to bring in that new business opportunity. And so after we tell them that, we remind them, like, that's exactly what we're here to support you with, is to get you to more rooms with your ideal clientele, where you're either networking or maybe you're the speaker on stage with their undivided attention. We help you develop your online presence on great platforms like LinkedIn, where you can start to have those business conversations. And we remind them that it's not an overnight lead gen tool like they kind of have
Mhm.
imagined as what it's supposed to be, and a lot of them are doing both. There's definitely a way that you can keep your business running consistently through some, those traditional marketing techniques that have been working for many years. But by building your personal brand and establishing a community, you're going to have more long-term value and long-term success. So we really just ask them. They almost answer their own question when we ask them.
Yeah, today there's so many avenues, and I think for many becomes confusing, because it's
Yeah,
like, well, then you have to become a jack of all trades, and
right.
where do you want to put your energy? And I think this is where your collective really comes in handy, because it's not just, as Alexis and I were chatting prior to coming on here, I was just saying how her collective is a brilliant idea. It's so simple, but brilliant, because we don't need just one solution. We need all of them. For example, we need the marketing aspect, we need the PR, we need the story branding, we need the social media. And usually what ends up is we end up hiring all these different individuals, but they're not talking to each other. And then what you have is maybe a broken message, or it's not
Mhm.
resonating. This way you have it all, it's synergistically coming together. So I love that. So in a world then, Alexis, that is obsessed with content, speaking of getting
Mhm.
overwhelmed, especially as an entrepreneur, how do you help clients cut through the noise and create messaging that truly connects?
Yeah. Well, first off, I remind them that quality over quantity is definitely the way to view content, right? You don't have to post every day just because people are saying post every day, that doesn't mean you're going to have a great quality piece of content every day, right? I remind them that every post is almost like a press release. You're announcing something to the
Mm.
world, you're making some sort of like public affirmation, even if it's something small, so you wouldn't just put out a press release every day, right? So really narrow it down to what are the most important, announcements or pieces of your life and journey that you're willing to share. And, so typically 2 to 3 days a week, I think, is
Mm.
plenty of content to share, where you can really curate it and have it be intentional, right? So that's how you cut through the noise. You create intentional content, not just content to create content. And another piece of it is the personal branding, where let's also showcase who you are outside of work. People think of LinkedIn and think, well, I only can post, if I got a job promotion, or, I was out with a colleague at a networking event, or I'm, volunteering in the community. But that's not all that you need to share, or you could share. I mean, we all have families, we all have travel experiences that we love. It's summer, right? Where did you travel this summer? Do you have a photo or two that you can share and just highlight some of your favorite aspects of the trip? You're more likely to get people commenting on that post
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, I've been there as well. I loved it there. Oh, what are your tips? I'm going there next month." Now you're starting a conversation in a community on a platform that doesn't need to be so serious, right? The post about you know, your job specifically may not get as much engagement, because people are just used to seeing that. So that's really, a couple of tips on how you can cut through the noise.
Mm. Yes, I love that what you said, that you're posting, think of it as a press release. That really changes the perspective. keep that top of mind when you're posting. It doesn't mean that it has to be serious, like you said. It doesn't mean that it has to be about business, but just put a little thought into it. And yes, I understand about people wanting to know more about you. We want authenticity today. That's the big word,
Mhm.
because the authenticity, it's, I love, Rumi has a saying, is who you seek is seeking you. And when you're
Mm,
authentic, isn't that beautiful? It's so
I love
true.
that.
It's an energy connection, it's a vibe. And therefore, when you allow yourself to be authentic, people connect with you because they are seeking you. So, often
Mhm.
people say, well, I'm just offering everything the same that everybody else is offering. And, I don't have a chance, da 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 da. And it's like, yes, but it's coming from you. And you are the
Mhm.
reason that they're going to buy from, or you are the reason that they're going to get coached, because they resonate with who you are, not necessarily what you're providing. Yes, it has to be,
Right.
a decent delivery, but still, yes. So I get that. Authenticity is number one. And when you find that, you're absolutely right. I have done that online, and I will put something a little bit more, oh, this has happened to me, and I get more engagement than when I post
Mm,
something, serious. So thank you for
right.
that. It really
Exactly.
is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, people,
It,
because those are the people
absolutely.
that resonate with you, right? Yeah, and
Mhm.
like I resonated with Alexis's page. I really did. I resonated with what was going on and who she was and what they're doing. So I was like, I have to contact this woman. So here we are. So it works. So personal
Yep.
brand and PR. How do clients grow their personal brand through public relations? And I know I've heard that public relations are sometimes more important than marketing.
Yeah. So, especially now where obviously the world is shifting to AI and people are actually now often going to ChatGPT to search for a service or what's the best marketing firm in Tampa, right? Or, what's the closest coffee shop near me? And the way that AI pulls information to fill those search results is completely different than Google used to.
Mm.
It's actually now more important than ever that you have really high quality public relations and media mentions. So that means being mentioned in your local newspaper, right? Because maybe you did something where you gave back to your community and they featured your business, your coffee shop. That kind of a mention is more powerful when it comes to AI search. Maybe it's that you won an award, you're one of the top female entrepreneurs in your community. That's another great mention of your name, your business, what you do, and that's something AI is going to really look at when it's deciding what do people really care about, what are they looking for when they're asking me this question, right? So it's not as much as with SEO. You could kind of just, you knew the technical side, you could just have a bunch of keywords on your website. You could really strategically just get listed in random websites and SEO would pick that up and show it. But AI is a totally different ball game. And so I explain that to kind of share why public relations, I think, is the future of marketing, and definitely a major piece of it that every business should be investing in. I think that it also is just a great opportunity to tell your story and control that narrative, right? Of what people find when they are searching for you or for a service like yours or a product like yours. And so, how you can use that to grow your personal brand is just don't be afraid to put yourself out there to your local media. They're looking for experts like you. They're looking for business owners to highlight. Invite yourself to podcasts, right? Podcasts like this will
Mhm.
publish the episode. They're obviously going to link to your name and your website, right? So there's another credibility opportunity. Speaking on stages is another form of PR as well, right? Because now the conference website is mentioning you as a speaker, and again, linking back to your website. So these are all just really key ways that, as a personal brand, right, you can continue to build that credibility, visibility, and most of it really doesn't come with a high cost. I think a lot of people hear PR and they think, oh, it's way too expensive, something outside of my budget. But nowadays, there's a lot of much lower cost or even earned, which is free, opportunities to get published, and those are usually better anyway because no one if they see that little sponsor tag or that, advertorial tag, they'll know, okay, they paid for this opportunity. So now their credibility drops. So the more that you can get mentioned organically, the better you'll build your personal brand.
Hmm. Yes, and you're right. Because there is so much media today on all different levels that everyone is looking for content. So you're absolutely right when you say people think that traditionally it costs a lot of money, but everyone is looking for a story. They need to fill their
Mhm.
time slots, whether it's on the internet, whether it's on television, whether it's in the news. Everyone needs stories, and you just never know when they're going to pick it up. So it's a lot of legwork, but I'm sure that's one of the things that your collective takes care of, because you have to do the research and pull
Mhm.
up, people and things in that area. But you're absolutely right that there is a lot of room, much more than before, for people to get their story out there. So yes, I
Mhm.
can see that, and I agree with you. PR is very important, but I didn't realize that that's how AI searches, more so than Google for SEO. But AI is looking for the PR, the exposure that you've had. So that's really interesting. Thank you for that tip.
Yeah,
So cost
absolutely.
effectiveness. Whether you're a new or established business, costs these days are very important. So you use what you call a collaborative marketing. Tell us what that approach is all about.
Sure, sure. So the collective that I've built, it all kind of stemmed from very similar career paths as me and actually a lot of my friends. So we all kind of did the traditional. You go to school, you get your degree, then you go into corporate, right? And a lot of the friends I made were in marketing because that's the world I was in. And around 2019, 2020, 2021, it became much more common to leave your job and start as a freelancer, right? And as a freelancer, you're really an entrepreneur. You're self-employed, you're required to bring in your own clients. Now you also have to do your accounting and your business planning. And I think that word is definitely under, like they're more value than I think what the word freelancer kind of portrays. But what I saw was an opportunity for us to collaborate because I had one
Mhm.
friend who was an amazing branding freelancer, another who was an artist and a graphic designer, another who started a photography business, another who just was a social media influencer and loved creating content. When we all came together, we that's almost that's a lot of services, right? Because then I've got
Yeah.
the PR side and the personal branding, the storytelling, and then add in all of these other freelancers, and we created a collective where it's under one umbrella, the Rosarium umbrella. So again, you don't have to go to all these individuals and have this very siloed approach. You have one team that's working together very closely. But what you don't have is the overhead of an office and
Mhm.
salary and all the things that would typically come with hiring a marketing firm, and is why a lot of them are quite expensive. They've got a lot of overhead to cover. So it's one way for us to avoid that, while still providing incredible work, and bringing in very talented professionals that, which is great for me, don't need any training. They're already experts in their craft. So it's very convenient. And we've just kind of added from there. I think we're at probably 12 or 13 freelancers, consultants, entrepreneurs who all just love what we do, treat each client like they're our own, and just consistently do great work.
Yes, and that makes it cost effective, like you said. There's not the overhead. Each one is an individual entrepreneur, but you all come together. Especially if, let's say, you've got a client who wants everything, because that would be applicable to a client who is interested in making that investment. Yeah, and so and then you swap notes, et cetera, et cetera. So you are running like an agency, but in the modern world. So it's
Right.
absolutely perfect. Yeah, this is the wave of the future. I mean, seriously, it really is. So I think that's a wonderful. Like I said, I thought it's a genius move. So simple, but so genius at the same time. And I think this will probably be the wave of the future for many companies, if when they're service based,
Mhm.
especially. Definitely.
Agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So, speaking of AI, we touched on it just a little bit there in the last question, but there's a lot being said about AI and its effect on the future industries, especially in marketing and PR. Give us your insight into the power of AI, and does that or does that take away from the human touch, or can it add to it?
I actually just spoke on a panel at DigiMarCon, which is a global
Mm,
digital marketing conference, and it was really interesting because all of us on the panel, had completely different experiences in AI tools that we were using. But the whole idea was, is AI going to boost creativity when it comes to marketing, or is this the end of creativity as we know it? And there's a lot of really interesting conversations, and I think kind of what it all boiled down to is the fact that I almost see it as it's going to be an ongoing race. And I think in a good
mm,
way. So as AI catches up and surpasses what a human can do, as a human and someone, running a firm and offering services, what can you do to then kind of level up? What can you do to continue offering services outside of things AI cannot offer? So for us, we actually minimized the amount of costs and investment that I had on the team for copywriters, strategists, and things that AI does very, very well. And what I did is replace those roles with team members that can go in person, can go to our clients' events, can do content shoots with
mm,
them, can really build that relationship one on one. And so it's really just kind of running that race of, okay, well, what's the next best thing that we can offer that AI cannot offer? And so I think that human touch becomes more important than ever, because
mhm,
a lot of the content we're looking at, we're thinking, is this AI or is this real?
mhm,
And as if it's real, we're actually going to be more likely to be engaging with it and find it, authentic and approachable. If it's AI, you may actually lose a little bit of credibility there, right? Okay, you're just
mhm.
using ChatGPT to create your images and your videos and your captions. That almost comes off as, you're taking a shortcut. So I think there's a time and a place to use it, of course, and we definitely do in our business. But there's also time and a place to be authentic and, again, cut through the clutter by just being real and being yourself.
Yes. Using it as a tool. I mean, that's really,
Mhm.
what it's there for. But you're right. I mean, there's a lot, even online, people go, come on, we know this is AI generated. And they get annoyed, especially if it's something that you're
Yeah,
posting that's supposed to be personal. And I don't blame them,
right.
or yeah, we're still at the stage where we can tell the difference, but definitely it
Hmm.
is a very useful tool, like you said, for copywriting, for just even boosting some of the words that you want to use, or your presentation. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying polish
Yeah,
this a little bit for me, because
right.
yeah, that's exactly what it's there for. I mean, I love to use it. I My husband always says, oh, are you talking to that chat guy again? Because I I
That's
get
good.
carried away. He says, "Oh, I call it a genius," and he calls me wonderful. And it's like we just keep, I feeding it information. But that's the key: is that you have to know what you have to feed it the right information for it to give you what you want. It's not just write
Hmm.
me a story about me. Like, okay, who are
Yeah.
you? you know,
Right.
it's if it's garbage in, it's garbage out, right? So there you
Exactly.
go. Yeah. So there is a way to make it useful, but to use it in your favor as opposed to the other way around. Now in the future, I can't say anything about that because it is moving at the speed of light,
Right.
and who
Yeah.
knows?
Who knows?
Like they said, that we're developing machines that are going to be that maybe are smarter than humans. So where does that leave us? But that's a whole nother conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So engagement now, I'm really curious. You're known for reimagining presentations into interactive experiences. What's your secret to keeping an audience engaged from start to finish?
Well, typically, if they give me an hour to speak, right? Typically at a conference, it's 45 minute to an hour long sessions. You have a pretty curated topic that you're
Mm,
providing to add value and teachable moments. I probably only speak for
mm,
about 20 minutes. And that's because I'm a very direct to the point person. And a lot of my presentations are, maybe just 5 tips to getting started with your personal brand, right? Because if it was 10, that would be overwhelming. You can only, and take on so much information. And the rest of the presentation is, very workshop style.
Mm.
It's conversational, it's interactive. You're asking questions. I'll also have prompts so people share their personal brands, or kind of what was inspired during my presentation, and then we'll even workshop it together, right? There's been
Mm.
some instances where I'll pull up ChatGPT or I'll pull up Google and we'll put their name in, and they'll see firsthand, what is that impression that people get when they search for you. So, there's a lot of different ways to make it interactive rather than someone just lecturing at you for 60 minutes. And I think even I myself can always appreciate when speakers do that.
I love that idea. I mean, I love the interaction, the questions, and make it into a workshop. But I love the idea too of pulling up chat or AI and prompting them to say, what does what does Google say about Alexis, or what does AI say about Alexis? What is the information out there? That would be really interesting to see that, even with a new client.
Hmm.
You're digging for a new client for them to discover who they are, but wouldn't it be interesting for them to see what the computer world, or for lack, the internet thinks of them? What that's the image that
Hmm.
they've got. So where do we want to change things? That's really brilliant. I love that. That's amazing. That's a great way to use AI, by the way. Another way, but yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That would actually be fun as a workshop all on its own. So this is what we have. This
Yeah.
is what everybody thinks of you. Now we're all going to change it today. That would be really
Exactly.
mind bending. Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that information. That really lit a light bulb for me. So tell us now then, what is the boldest vision that you have for the future of branding and visibility, especially for the underrepresented voices? And I would say a lot of these are a lot of the startups, the entrepreneurs, et cetera, et cetera. Give us an idea of what you
Hmm.
see for the future of branding.
Hmm. Well, I think it's bold to say that the future is personal branding, especially in a world of AI, right? Where,
Mm,
it's just AI is just going to continue to evolve over
yeah.
time. And there may be less and less human interaction and, authentic content. And, things are definitely going to rapidly change. So I think it's bold to still say, like, we're still leaning into personal branding. We're seeing it to be more important than ever, in this world of evolving AI. And even with, especially with underrepresented entrepreneurs, we want them to have that visibility and have that stage, and have, really start to build up their story, who they are. And so I think, I'm still standing by that.
Mm. And that is so refreshing because you are young. So I would think that you would be more on the track of, the internet, the computers, the AI, but personal branding in the world of AI. Yeah, that's that's what people want. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find that refreshing because, I just see a younger person. I think, well, they're all into technology because that's the future. But I love it that you're into
You
personal
have to use
connection.
it.
Yeah.
Right. You have to
Yeah.
use it, but you don't want to lose yourself in it either.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that you said teachable moments before, and
Hmm.
that's a teachable
Hmm.
moment. You have to use it, but
Right.
you don't want to lose yourself in it. Absolutely.
Right.
I agree with you 100%. We've got to put that on a bulletin board for sure. So, give us an idea then, Alexis, the audience, of an idea of the services that you provide. I know we've touched on them a little bit, but maybe you can just go through them once again so that anyone listening, if something sparks an interest for the services that you have, give us an idea of what those are.
Okay, sure. So we've talked about the personal branding and the public relations. So that's a big piece of what we do. We also created a talent management program, which is basically a riff off the idea that, celebrities athletes, influencers, they all have agents that are searching for brand deals, right, and opportunities for them. But no one's really representing entrepreneurs who have built up a pretty credible brand, have a large following, they're being invited to more stages and conferences, and they deserve to be compensated as well for, what they've built. So, we've created a program where we represent them as their agent, help negotiate rates on their behalf. That one I'm really excited about continuing to grow. And then, yeah, traditional, social media, website development, SEO, search, GBT. I don't think there's a real name for it yet, which is a kind of curating your own search placements in AI and chat GPT. And then full service when it comes to production and content creation. So whether you're looking for a professional shoot with a videographer, photographer, or an iPhone shoot where you're creating something trendy, for Instagram Reels or TikTok, we've got, the team of experts here that can make it all happen.
Thank you. I love that new concept, by the way, having an agency for entrepreneurs. That's brilliant. Yeah, you're right. There is no one doing that. There's agents for all different individuals, but there isn't any for startups, which are rolling right now. The startups there are more startups now than I think there are, especially young people looking for the corporate job, the old corporate job, because I think that they're done with it. And unfortunately, a lot of the leaders of the corporate jobs are the older individuals who have the old leadership thinking mindset. So it's
Yeah.
very difficult to follow their lead when they're stuck in the past, because we all know now that a good leader needs to be empathetic. He needs to be authentic. There's a lot of new core values that weren't there in the past. And so that'll change, and it actually is. So I think that's wonderful. Well, give us an idea then, Alexis, if there was one message that you could tell every female CEO, what would it be?
Oh, just be proud to be in the room, regardless of whether maybe you're the only woman or probably one of few, because that's very common for me as a CEO who's a woman. So I definitely want to encourage other women to still, put themselves out there and show up even when it may be, uncomfortable, and be proud. I mean, I think it's amazing that there's more, women small business owners and, successful entrepreneurs. And I'd love to connect with them, right? And be in that room with them so we can lift each other up.
Right. Celebrate yourself. It's just like I read your
Mhm.
bio and you were like, wow, I can't believe it's me.
I was like, is that
All
me?
right. Yeah, we talk about it, but then it's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty special myself. So congratulations. So
Thank
how
you.
can people discover more about your services and your resources? And we'll have all of this on the bio pages, by the way.
Sure. Yeah. Our handle and website is pretty consistent. It's rosarium.work, WORK. So you can find us on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Facebook, the web. And then you can also connect with me. Of course, my personal brand is going to have completely different content. So my full name I use is Alexis Rose Quintal. And yeah, I'm looking forward to connecting.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be connecting with that. I'm on Rosarium, but I'll definitely connect with you there as well. And we'll
Yeah.
put that on the bio pages. So because we're here on the Epic Vision Zone, Alexis, I have one last question. If your life were an epic story, what would the title be?
Ooh. Well, I'm actually writing a book, and I don't want to necessarily give away the title, but it definitely will have to do with healing and growing. Rosarium means garden, so I have a passion for like flowers and just also just the symbolism of it. I can't usually keep alive plants, but I love the idea of, even a lot of times when they're near death, you can bring them back to life. And, I see that in businesses. It just comes with consistency and, right, and just never giving up. So something along those lines without giving away my actual book title.
Title. Well, congratulations on that. We'll have to reconnect. So I would love to promote it and let the audience know about the content of what's in your book. So congratulations, because I know that's a large undertaking for sure. Well,
It
thank you
is, yeah.
again, Alexis. Yeah, for sure. Thank you again for joining us here today. And once again, for information to connect with Alexis, go to the Epic Vision Zone bio pages where you'll find all of the social media and direct contact information. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Jane Applegath and look me up on janeapplegath.com. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Epic Vision Zone, also on Spotify, iTunes, and all other streaming platforms. Sending you much love and gratitude. This is the Epic Vision Zone, the ultimate source for extraordinary transformations.